When my fiance's mother said she had a secret to tell me before the wedding, I didn't expect her to confess she was my biological mother. Diane wanted to meet for lunch exactly 1 week before my wedding. Just us, she said. Mother-daughter time before the big day. I thought she was being sweet. My own adoptive mother had died when I was 19, and Diane had stepped into that role so naturally over the 2 years I dated her son James. She waited until after we'd ordered. Then she reached across the table and took both my hands in hers, and I watched her face crumble. Natalie, I gave birth to you 27 years ago in St. Catherine's Hospital. I was 16. I held you for 2 hours before they took you away. The restaurant tilted. She kept talking, but I couldn't hear anything except a high-pitched ringing in my ears. My birthday, the hospital name that matched my adoption papers, the small scar on my right ankle from a broken medical bracelet in the nursery. Details only my biological mother would know. James isn't your brother, she added quickly, desperately. He's adopted too. You're not blood related. The wedding can still happen. I stood up and walked out, left her crying at that table, drove to my apartment and didn't answer her calls for 3 days. But here's the thing that made me furious. She'd known for 6 months. Since the first time James brought me to Sunday dinner and she saw the birthmark on my wrist when I reached for the salt. She'd investigated, confirmed her suspicions, and said nothing. Watched me fall deeper in love with her son, helped me pick out wedding venues, let me call her almost mom, while knowing she was actually my mom. I called off the wedding. James was devastated. He didn't understand why I was punishing him for his mother's choices. We fought for weeks. He wanted answers I couldn't articulate. How could I marry into a family built on a secret that massive? How could I trust anything? Diane sent letters I didn't open, showed up at my door, and I wouldn't let her in. I quit my job because James worked in the same building, moved to a new apartment, started over completely, burning down everything I'd built. That was my fall. 6 months of rage where I destroyed my own life trying to prove I didn't need any of them. The turning point came on what would have been my wedding day. I was alone in my studio apartment eating takeout and watching terrible TV when my phone buzzed. Not Diane or James, my adoptive father, who I only heard from on birthdays. Your mother saved every letter, he said. No preamble. From your birth mother. The adoption agency passed them along for years. Your mother kept them in a box she made me promise to give you when you turned 30, but I think you need them now. There were 47 letters spanning 17 years. Diane had written to me every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone she imagined I might be reaching. The letters were raw with grief and hope and a love so desperate it felt like drowning. She'd searched for me legally when I turned 18, hired a private investigator when I turned 21, never stopped looking. And when she found me, when I walked into her home on her son's arm, she'd been terrified that telling me would drive me away, so she'd stayed silent, hoarding whatever pieces of my life I'd give her. Mother-in-law was better than nothing. I cried for 3 days straight reading those letters. Then I did something that felt insane. I called her. We met at the same restaurant. I brought the box of letters. You should have told me immediately, I said. I know. You stole my choice to decide how to handle this. I know. I needed you to be brave and you were a coward, she nodded, tears streaming. I know. Then I asked the question that had been burning in me for months. Why did you give me up? What came out was the story of a teenager from a violent home who'd been raped by her mother's boyfriend, who'd hidden the pregnancy until it was too late for her parents to force an abortion, who'd chosen adoption because she wanted me to have everything she couldn't give. Diane hadn't just given me away. She'd saved me. The comeback didn't happen overnight. It took a year of therapy, individual and together. Honest conversations with James, who'd been as devastated by his mother's secret as I was, slowly rebuilding trust that felt more like building something new from scratch. We got married 2 years after the original wedding date. Small ceremony, just close friends. Diane walked me down the aisle, and when the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman?" she said, "I do." Again. Now I have coffee with her every Thursday. We're learning each other. Not as in-laws, but as mother and daughter with 27 lost years to fill. Some weeks are harder than others. Sometimes I'm still angry. Sometimes she still cries. But here's what I've learned. Families aren't about perfect beginnings. They're about who stays when the truth comes out, who does the work, who chooses you again and again, even when it's hard. Diane chose me at 16 when she could have terminated. At 17 when she signed the papers. At 27 when she recognized my birthmark and didn't run. And at 29 when she let me rage and waited for me to come back. That's not betrayal. That's the longest love letter I've ever received. James and I are expecting our first baby in April. A girl. We're naming her Catherine after the hospital where my mother held me for 2 hours before letting me go. This time, she gets to keep us both. I know.